So you've run a half marathon, but now you want to do one faster. There's a fly in my face. So you've run a half marathon and now you want to do one faster. Well, you've come to the right place. I'm Anna, and today on the running channel, I'm going to give you all the tips that you need to aim for that half marathon PB. If you're new around here, we upload new videos all about running every week. So don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell icon to get notified when we do. First things first, a half marathon PB will look completely different depending on who you are. So the time goal will be different depending on your level of experience, your life commitments, how much you can dedicate to training and all those kinds of things. So the tips that we're going to give you today are going to help you maximize your training and switch it up a bit to help you get that half marathon PB no matter what your time goal is. Now 13.1 miles is a cracking distance to cover because it doesn't take up so much time for your training as something like a marathon would, but equally it doesn't take too long to recover afterwards if you need to give it another go if you don't quite get your PB the first time round. The first thing that you need to do is work out what time you want to run your half marathon in. So it might just be that you want to do it faster than the last one that you did, or you might have a specific time goal in mind. So maybe you want to hit under 1 hour 45. Whatever it is, you need to work that out first so that you can then work out what pace that is in either miles or kilometers, whichever you work in, so that you know what you need to be running your training runs at. So if you want to run a faster half marathon than you have before, then chances are you'll probably need to run a bit further and a bit faster doing some speed work. And these are both areas we'll explore in more depth in this video. First, we're actually going to talk about running more slowly. So a key piece of our advice to running a PB at any distance is to be able to run well at a distance both above and below your target distance. So there are two types of slower runs that you should be thinking about doing. And for these runs, you should be doing them at a comfortable pace. So we're talking like 5 or 6 out of 10 for effort, and you should really still be able to hold a conversation as well. So when I go out on my easy runs, I can put my headphones in and give my mum a call and have a chat to her whilst I'm running. That is how easy this pace should feel to you. So these two types of runs that you should be doing at a slower pace are your long runs, which are a key part for half marathon training. And when you're looking to train for a half marathon, you should be going up to a distance of 10 miles and maybe more for that long run. And doing that again at a comfortable pace and thinking about it being significantly slower than your goal race pace. You might want to run your long runs a little bit faster at times, but that's something that we're going to explore in more depth later on in this video, so keep watching for that tip. And the other kind of slower run that we're talking about is recovery runs. So these are the ones that you would do in the days after you've done a harder session, and they give your body time to recover and make sure that you are less prone to picking up injury during your training block. Tempo runs are great for making sure that you're aerobically fit to run a fast half marathon. In fact, 5-time Olympian Joe Pavey recommends using tempo runs once a week in order to run a fast half marathon. Now, these should be run at your lactate threshold pace. So if you need a hand understanding paces, do check out our video on the running channel that's all about paces. But what we mean here is that it's a relatively hard effort, so you should only really be able to say 1 or 2 words while you're running at your lactate threshold pace. Now, this is also going to be slightly faster than your steady runs, but a little bit slower marginally than any speed work that you're doing because you're holding on to this pace for a prolonged period of time. So with your tempo runs, try and start out by running 2 miles at a tempo pace, then gradually build up to 5 or 6 miles for your tempo run. You could really then push it through to an 8-mile tempo run once you feel that you've mastered it at the lower end of the mileage scale. And a good way to try and practice this is to run a park run at your tempo pace and then maybe even look to run a little bit extra on the end as well. If you are only going to do one hard session a week, then make sure that it's your tempo runs. In order to run 13.1 miles faster, you're going to need to do some faster running. So we're talking about intervals here. So interval running can be done either by effort or by pace. So thinking about effort, when you're doing intervals, try and do the talk test on this one. So if you can talk while you're doing your efforts, then it means you're going too slowly. But on the flip side, if you can't sustain the pace for the entire effort, then that means that you have probably set out too quick and you're not going to be able to manage to complete the entire session. So also with intervals, you need to think about the recoveries that you're going to be doing in between. So aim for recoveries to take as long as your previous interval did. And in order to increase your aerobic fitness, you should then think about reducing down that recovery time. Try starting with 2 to 3 minute efforts if you're going by time, or between 600 to 800 meters if you're doing it by distance. Aim to run 20 minutes of cumulative hard effort to start with, and then look to build that up to between 30 to 40 minutes. You can vary your efforts from 1 minute to 5 minutes, or you could even make it less formal and do the whole session as a fartlek instead, where you decide the distance that you're going to run hard for. The key here is to run faster than your goal race pace and keep it consistent. Pacing is key. Long runs are a really important part of half marathon training, and as you progress through your weeks of training, you should try and aim to throw in some miles at your goal race pace. So doing this is not only going to give you the race specific fitness to run at that pace during the race, but it'll also give you the mental edge of knowing what it feels like. So to start off with, during your long runs, why don't you try and do 3 or 4 miles at your goal race pace with 2 minutes of some easy jogging recovery in between those miles, and then build that up to 6 miles total. Then in the latter stages of training, when you go out and run your longest training runs, instead of just going out and running 10 miles at one pace, try and do something like this instead. So do 2 miles at an easy pace to warm up, then 4 miles 1 minute slower than your goal race pace. Then do 3 miles at your goal race pace and finish off with a mile of some easy running for a cool down. If you want to give yourself the best chance of running a fast half marathon, then you need to taper your training in the final 2 weeks before race day. So what you will do is cut down on the volume of your running and give yourself the chance to have some fresh legs ready when you hit that start line, because you're going to be easing back on the training and therefore your legs are going to feel less heavy. If you need some more tips all about what tapering is and how it benefits us runners, make sure you check out our full video on tapering on the running channel. For longer races like a half marathon, it's all about managing your glycogen stores early on in the race. So don't be tempted to go out and try and run your splits quicker than you'd been training for, because you think that that's going to give you time in the bank. Actually, what that could do is lead to early glycogen depletion. Then you'll end up crashing and running out of energy, so don't set off too quickly. You'll need to make sure that you've dialed down your nutrition strategy before race day. So practice in training what extra carbohydrates you're going to be taking on during the race. Nothing new on race day, because you don't know how it's going to affect you. And if you're going for that all-important PB, you want to make sure that you've got enough energy to run at the pace that you've practiced at for the entire race. Also make sure you're thinking about hydration. Just 2% of dehydration can slow you down, so make sure you drink plenty before, during and after the race. Now, if you've got a friend or a teammate who runs at your goal race pace, you could see if you can enlist them as a pacer. They'll keep you at a steady pace the whole way through that way and help you to avoid setting off too quickly. And some of the bigger half marathon races actually have official pacers as well, who are running at that specific time. So look into it and see if your race has got pacers. That way you can start with them and finish with them. And if you can hold on the whole way, you'll grab that PB. Don't neglect rest and recovery when it comes to training for that half marathon PB. You're going to be running harder and faster than you have before, which means that sleeping, eating, stretching, all of it becomes far more important to make sure that you don't pick up any injuries or illness along the way. For more tips on recovery, do check out our video on the running channel, and we've got a whole playlist of videos all about recovery too, because yes, it is that important. Hopefully you found some tips useful there to help you gun for your half marathon at PB. What videos would you like us to make next? Leave us a comment below with your suggestions, and you could very well see it being made next time on the running channel.